God spoke to me about me using profanity. I was making room for profanity in my life. And so I'm just going to read in my journal and we'll go from there. Something else he told me, I was meditating and God was speaking to me. I asked, was he happy with the content I've been posting? If he has any feedback. If he has any feedback for me. That's when he said, stop cursing. I asked how, and he said, just don't think about it. He caused me to realize that I was focusing on my imperfection, focusing on my flaw of using profanity, and that caused me to fear that my sin would find me out. Therefore, I was deliberately putting my flaw on Front Street because of fear that someday some person would catch me off guard and record me cursing them up, cursing them down, and cursing them all upside down. So operating from a sin consciousness, I wanted to protect myself from the accuser of the brethren and his agents by getting control of the narrative before it even starts. Look at all the mental energy wasted on a flaw that, if I don't think about it, I most likely will naturally not do it. The enemy is so tricky and calculating. It really does take the help of God and his Holy Spirit to navigate this life on earth. That's what I wrote down. I have cursed, used profanity. I personally did not care about me cursing. I grew up cursing. My father, he was a Marine, and cursing was like his favorite thing to do, everything. And I was a daddy's girl. Well, I wanted to be a daddy's girl. I never would have, or never did ever become good enough for my father. But I always wanted to be a daddy's girl, and I always wanted to be like him. He was my hero. He was a Marine, and then he came home and became a firefighter, and I just saw him as this life-saving man. He was my hero, and I wanted to be just like him. And that it just kind of was something that I loved everything about him, and even the cursing and the colorful way that he cursed, and how sometimes it would make the punchline that much funnier or whatever, right? So I grew up, it was a part of my vocabulary, and as I got older, it just stuck. And then I became an aircraft mechanic, and I was in this male-dominated industry where, I'm working around a lot of dudes all day long. And, men are working in an environment with a lot of men. There are a lot of men that are extremely immature and underdeveloped emotionally. And they can't be around women without this stupid, competition and like beating their chest, like beating their chest like monkeys. It's really, really dumb. But to make these guys get out of my face, I would cuss them up and cuss them down and cuss them all around, because you can't be nice to ignorant folk. That's just something that I have found throughout my life. Some people are just not going to get it. They don't want to get it. They're ignorant. They like being misinformed, uneducated. They hold on. They wear their ignorance like a badge, and it's like they don't understand anything else. You could be as diplomatic as you want to. And so that I used profanity to make them feel stupid and small and get out of my face type of thing. And I mean, I could go on and on and on about all the microaggressions I receive in my life all the time, just from being Black and American, and always no matter how good you are, always looked down upon as not good enough or second class. And you can be more qualified, more educated, more dignified, and all that. And so, like, why try? And so it was the easy route for me to I would be like, it's part of who I am. And if someone doesn't like it, they probably don't belong to my world anyway. So who cares? And that's not a good way to be. It's not a good way to be. And also, on top of all that, God is my real Father. Holy and divine and righteous and loving and beautiful and kind is my Holy Father. And I need to get that. I need to wrap my, and I am like, I do get that. I do get that. And I just need to embrace that part of me, that I am a royal priesthood, and I ought not to resort to coarse language, because that's not who I truly am. That's not who God created me to be. And so I'm not saying that I'm never, ever, ever going to curse again in my life. But I definitely don't need to keep it in the forefront of my mind, like being scared that, somebody that I went to school with or, is going to pop up and be like, I know her. How in the world can God use her? She cursed like a sailor. I don't need to fear that, and I don't need to worry about that. I just need to focus on God. And as long as I focus on God, then He will work out, all my little idiosyncrasies and help me to be the best me that I can be. So I just want to hold myself accountable. I must decrease so that Christ may increase. I don't want to hold on to anything that is offensive to God or that would make it harder for one of His children to hear His voice through me. Maybe it might make a difference or help somebody in some way. All right, so I'm going to end this here. Look for my Patreon in the description. God's 30-day life-changing challenge. God taught me how to put on the whole armor of God. And you can read about that in the description. Thank you for sharing your time with me. Be blessed.